What's up, Scyushi Squad? We are back in more Trove, and today we're going to be tackling the Ice Sage in the 36K series. Now, I know I keep saying this in these videos, but I do gotta let you guys know that the test server currently has crystal gems, so it's only a matter of time before it goes to the live server. It might even be on the live server by the time this video gets uploaded. I don't know, but at the time that I'm recording this, it isn't there. But I did want to continue the 36K series because there's a lot of classes that we still missed. Generally speaking, we're almost done with the magic classes, and then I gotta rush out the melee classes. And then when the new gems get added to the game, power rank just ends up increasing by like 10K. We can end up going to like 46K power rank and stuff like that. But we end up getting U11 as a new challenge room, and there's a new biome which has really difficult enemies and so on and so forth. So we'll end up doing those videos in due time. That's going to end up taking a while before I can end up getting a full set of both physical and magic gems to end up even showing you guys that stuff, which means that unfortunately with me rushing these videos out to you guys right now, it's still costing me regeminators to swap all of my gems and stuff like that, versus if I just waited until the update ended up going live. But then I felt like then things might end up becoming a little bit less relevant. I don't know. But anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to start the timer here. We're getting our volatile ball, and we're going to end up essentially spending 5 minutes in the geode surface, showing you guys comparable damage numbers and just how powerful this class can end up being. And then we're going to end up hopping into some delves for a little bit of a comparison between this and other classes. Now, Ice Sage is going to end up being an absolute powerhouse, but what it kind of lacks now is speed farming. Speed farming is just not nearly as good as it once was. More specifically, the ultimate ability ended up changing a long time ago, mind you, with the #1 ability. So the ultimate ability for the Ice Sage used to actually be the ice freeze attack that we see now as our #1, and then the ultimate, and then the #1 ability was actually a shield that has actually replaced the ultimate ability. But the thing is, that shield actually used to give movement speed, and so it was a really good ability that you can end up that you can end up using for speed farming, whereas now it's most of all just about dealing out heaps and heaps of damage, which generally speaking is going to be very helpful for when we end up fighting enemies in the delves, and also when we end up fighting leviathans, which is going to end up being where the Ice Sage truly shines. Now, another thing too, I gotta swap over to trailblazing actually, because I made a little bit of a mistake right there using arcane, because we need that for delves, not necessarily for here. But if we end up damaging enemies and then triggering our flash, and if we ended up having pyro disc and whatever else end up triggering, you can see that the Ice Sage is still fine. It's still a pretty comparable. I don't know why the bomb mount messed up. I must have jumped prematurely. But you can see that the class ends up handling enemies no problem. As far as speed farming is concerned, there's two things you gotta factor in, which is how quickly can you defeat the enemies that you're fighting versus how quickly can you travel from one dungeon to another. And the Ice Sage ends up being comparable in both regards. Most of all, its damage output is just going to be absolutely insane, and you're going to end up being you're fine as far as just damaging enemies is concerned. You'll be able to just power through it. Like you can see, that kind of glitched right there. I was trying to use my right click attack because the right click attack is actually really good for Cursed Skulls. Can you stop rubber banding? Because one right click is going to end up taking care of all of these kill 30 enemies, for example, and I can basically just spam it if the game wouldn't just keep breaking under its own, like, dear lord, it's such a lag fest today. I don't know what's going on. Probably because the test server has like 100 people playing and the servers aren't used to having people on them. Anyways, sorry, it's very frustrating, but you can see that we can end up essentially just right clicking, and that'll end up defeating pretty much anything that U10 has to throw at us. Dear lord, can you just get to the end? And then our movement speed, so long as we're constantly tagging enemies to end up getting our ally to trigger and so on and so forth, then we're just fine. You know, Ice Sage is going to end up being a pretty decent speed farmer, not necessarily great or thriving. As you can see, our base movement speed is pretty slow when we're off on our own and not actually on our, you know, not actually tagging anything or getting any of our buffs or anything like that. But as soon as we do, then we're doing fine. Then we can end up traveling from one dungeon to another at an okay rate. Obviously, you're not going to turn any heads. You know, there's other characters that are going to end up speed farming way better. But the fact is that the Ice Sage is not going to be like, oh my god, I'm moving at a snail's pace, you know? And again, you get to compensate for the lack of traveling distance being quickly. Jesus. Versus being able to defeat enemies quickly, right? Like that's going to end up being the brunt of it, is because you can end up defeating enemies so absurdly fast. It means that is going to end up being where you may end up doing better than some other classes as far as speed farming is concerned. It's most of all just getting to the next dungeon. It's so laggy. You know what? Screw this. Screw adventure worlds. They're boring anyways, and they're just broken right now. I don't have the patience for it, man. I've been playing this game for over 7 years. I can't stand when it starts lagging like this, because it's funny. I wasn't lagging before either. It's just, I don't know. And I'm not going to sit there and waste like 15 to 20 minutes of my life waiting until the world is dead and empty so that I can end up doing a good comparison video for you guys, because I got things to do. I got lots of other videos to do covering the stuff on the test server. But anyways, let's hop into the delves. So that is going to end up being at depth 119. And this is where you guys are probably just going to be like Home Alone Macaulay Culkin screaming, because this is where the character ends up shining. Is most of all in the delves. This is always going to end up being a class that so many people reference and say, oh yeah, if you want to be safe, you want to be sound, you want to end up defeating enemies in the delves, you go right ahead and you swap over to the Ice Sage. I'm sorry, I just noticed that I ended up having Trailblazing instead of Arcane. Most of all, that's going to end up factoring in when we fight the boss, but generally speaking, you can see that once again, you know, our base attack is doing just fine. A little bit glitchy, just because this game is glitchy. But if we end up doing our right click, we're literally just one-shotting everything. Obviously, it depends on what you generate. You know, you can't really always say, oh, you know, the delves is super duper easy. It could just be that it generated really easy. But I like to try and have the same depth as often as I can in these videos so that I can show you guys comparable numbers of, okay, well, here's this class in 119, here's this class in this depth, and so on and so forth, right? And you can see that the Ice Sage is absolutely fine, you know, as far as just damage is concerned. He's got it, okay? He's going to end up being no problem. You know what? I'm not going to deal with these guys at all. Thank you very much. I'm just going to skip right past all of these stupid mushroom guys and go for the weaker enemies that will end up bunching up, getting up close and personal, and letting me defeat them. Now, the other thing too is Ice Sage actually has a pretty decent amount of survivability, because if we use our number 1 on strong enemies in the delves, it'll actually just freeze them for a little while. Your ultimate ability does end up giving you a shield, which as far as I know does soak up a certain amount of damage. It's not very much, but it still ends up giving you a little bit of extra survivability, and any bit of survivability is going to end up going really, really far in terms of your delves farming. Now, the other thing too is if you don't like go super duper deep with your delves, you could actually get away with not even using the arcane emblem and instead using trailblazing, just so that we could end up getting through this area nice and quick. Because if I combine this with path painter and then it would end up using a trailblazing flask, you could see the sheer amount of speed that we would be able to obtain. But anyways, let's spam our ultimate. Basically, we just end up hitting our left mouse button the whole time while we just end up spamming our barrier over and over again, because it just ends up giving us heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of attack speed. And then our, you know, explosive effect right there. You can see the video effects just going absolutely crazy. No problem. Look at this. Absolutely no problem. Just annihilate the boss without any issue. Ice Sage go burr. Because it's so cold. Sorry, that was a terrible pun. Actually, I'm not sorry for that. It was a terrible pun, and that's why you subscribed, right? Yeah. So, my own feedback towards the class, I mean, it's a powerhouse. Ice Sage is one of the few characters that I can say is the top in certain categories. Not necessarily 100% the Ice Sage is the best class for the delves. I'm just saying it's top tier, because there's not really any class in the game that does one specific function the best. I mean, some of them kind of do, but generally speaking, that's not really the point of these videos. The point of these videos is to show you guys, okay, how you know, capable is this class? And I'm very happy to report that the Ice Sage is a capable speed farmer and a very, very good delves farmer. You can end up, again, using the Ice Sage on Leviathans as well, and it would essentially end up being the same strategy, where you just pop your ult, pop your flasks, and then just use your left click. Just spam it. Right? So anyways, that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for watching. Smash like, sub for more. Buy the merch you want, support the channel, and have a wonderful day, gamers.